Keep it open or close it out. That was Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins, and because of that, Vikings players, you drink free. Because, guys, I genuinely think Kirk Cousins likes Creed. I don't think that was a bit.
Yeah, my takeaway from that is I like the Niners -6.5 on Monday Night Football.
I was thinking the same thing. That'll be a key pick for me this week.
Unbelievable. Texas Rangers winning because of Creed, not Jordan Montgomery or Nathan Uvalde. Creed getting it done in the ALCS.
Lawrence, what was your exact quote before we came back on? I don't know anything about Creed.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about Creed, so I can only imagine if
good.
I was a player in that locker room, I'd have been pissed. Like, I've heard Justin Jefferson before scream at Kirk Cousins for not throwing. Like, he'd be like, throw the damn ball, Kirk. And I think some of that frustration, now that we know that's what's getting played in the locker room, it might come from that. So.
You had a good description of Creed.
Oh, wow, I'm not sure we can.
It's maybe not show-worthy, but
y'all go listen to it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out for yourself. All right, with that, we'll get into Keep It Open or Close It Out. It's our start-sit portion of the week, and we do start with Kirk Cousins because he has the 49ers. It might feel weird to ask at this state of quarterbacks right now, Lawrence, can you keep it open with Kirk Cousins? But the 49ers defense is scary, and this is an offense now without one of the best players in the league in Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, well, look on the bright side. The Vikings are at home. Psych, I'm not leaving that open. I'm going to close out on Kirk Cousins. Weeks 1 through 3, he was the top quarterback in fantasy. The last 3 weeks, however, he's been quarterback 19. That's just him. You know, that's going against anybody else but the Niners. Now you're going against this Niners defense who pretty much humiliates everybody. They humiliate all these quarterbacks, ones that we may consider better than Kirk Cousins. They allowed the third fewest points in fantasy points per game this season. Since week 4, Kirk Cousins has had less than 300 yards passing the game. And that's kind of why we like Kirk Cousins, because, he's got Justin Jefferson. He can throw the ball 40 times a game and get you those. Maybe it's a 4-touchdown, 2-interception game, but that's good for fantasy. I don't know if we'll get that this week against the Niners, even at home, even at the Dome. So I got to close it today on Kirk, but maybe he'll get back on track after this.
Yeah, Matthew's got him ranked QB 14. I think that's about right, where you're not super excited if you're starting him in a standard league. At the same time, the Vikings do throw the ball a ton. It's just not a great sign that the first game without Justin Jefferson against a very weak Chicago secondary, he put up 8.7 fantasy points. Niners have a bit better of a defense than Chicago, so you're not starting Kirk with confidence.
Our next one, Rachaad White, he's got the Falcons this week, and for Barry, he comes in as RB20. Here's the thing, Lawrence, Atlanta's been good against running backs this year, and Rachaad White in this Bucs running game has had no juice most of the season. Yeah,
interesting thing, I actually wrote about Rachaad White earlier this week in my stock report. His stock's going down despite the fact that he's pretty much he's been the lead back in that role. We're now starting to see Keyshawn Vaughn cut into that, but it'll get left open this week for me for these reasons. There's 6 teams on a bye week. We struggling. We just lost David Montgomery. We may get CMC, we may not. So that's 2 of the top running backs right there, plus the 6 bye weeks. I don't know if you can afford to bench a player who is going to get 15 touches. And if you're gritting your teeth having to start Rachaad White, just know that while the Falcons are good against the run, they did give up 2 receiving touchdowns last week to Bijan Robinson and Antonio Gibson. And for this season, Rachaad White is averaging 3.5 targets per game, which isn't crazy, but it's nice for a running back. So we'll leave it open, but we leaving it open.
Yeah, I'm very excited about Rachaad White, but the fact that he has 16 receptions on the season, the Bucs, 2.5-point favorites in that NFC South blockbuster. Bit of a bonus one, Connor. Are you worried about Bijan Robinson?
No, I'm always worried about Arthur Smith, but I think, no, when I look at Bijan, he'll be fine. I think, once again, this offense is always kind of leaning somewhere else week to week. Drake London being unlocked is a good sign for the Falcons and Drake London, and maybe takes a little off the plate of Bijan, who we thought could be this 30-touch guy, 25-touch guy. I'm not worried yet.
That last play, Bijan was split out left against Jamin Davis. They run the slant, You get that route, you get the linebacker out there, you run go route when it's man coverage. He ran the slant, they paid for it, Ritter throws the pick.
Yeah, he keeps saying after every game that he's sore, which I don't love.
Right.
Not sure if he's physically sore or sore of Tyler Algier out carrying him, but yeah, I would hopefully Bijan can explode at some point, given he's clearly got the talent.
Yeah, it's a fair question. All right, our next one, another young running back with a lot of talent. That's Javonte Williams. He's got the Packers on deck this week. And Green Bay, they allow the 4th most points per game to running backs this season. But on the flip side, Jay, besides health, there's not a lot going for Javonte Williams in an offense that we see Samaje Perine, we see Jaleel McLaughlin, we see Russ run a little bit and, of course, throw. It's just hard to have a ton of confidence in such a promising young player because of the situation he's in.
Yeah, I think what this just comes down to when you see that he had 35% of the snaps against Kansas City on the Thursday night. Now, he's coming off the injury. There's been an extended break, and that'll help him. But the reality is he's on a bad team in a 3-headed monster. And that just generally is not a good recipe for putting up stats. And it just seems like it's kind of trending towards Jaleel McLaughlin, who's been the best performer of these 3 guys, Lawrence.
Yeah, he's actually, Jaleel McLaughlin is actually running back 25 on the season, and he ain't even played 2 games this season, right? Javonte Williams had one more touch than Jaleel McLaughlin in week 6. He had one more fantasy point, and McLaughlin is a different type of player. He's their explosive and guy who has the suddenness. He's their guy that he could hit the home run every play. You don't really think about Javonte Williams in that fashion. So I would actually probably rather, knowing that they're all playing a similar amount of snaps with Samaje Perine included, McLaughlin would be the guy that I would actually prefer to start right now.
One of these 3, they're going to fall in the end zone against Green Bay. But like you said, Jay, it's a 3-headed monster. And it's a total even split of who is going to fall in the end zone.
Yeah,
It could be Ryan.
Probably be Javonte, but then Jaleel has more upside to break one and get more work in the passing game. So I don't think you feel great about any of these guys.
Right. And another guy kind of in the same mold right now that you don't feel great about, he comes in as RB37 for Barry. That's Gus Edwards against the Lions. Detroit has been a powerhouse against running backs this season. They've allowed the fewest points to running backs all year. With Gus, there hasn't been a lot going for him in this Ravens offense. You might be up against it because of the bye weeks and the injuries, but I don't know how you keep it open with Gus Edwards right now.
No, and I mean, he's had a tough run with the schedule where he's played the Titans run D, played Cleveland's defense a few weeks ago. Now he gets the Detroit defense, which, to your point, Connor, has allowed the fewest points to running backs this season. So I'd be closing it out on Gus. He's averaging 3.9 yards per carry. I think the way to beat Detroit is probably through the air. This is an interesting matchup. The line is Ravens -3. Not a lot of respect for the Detroit Lions. Ravens coming back from London as well. Look, Gus Edwards is getting the carries, but there's just been no efficiency on the ground, and it's a tough matchup.
Yeah, he's going to have to get a touchdown for this to pay off here. Under 2.5 yards per carry the past 2 games. Single-digit fantasy points in 5 of the 6 games this season. You got Justice Hill working in there. Now, when you face a top run defense, it almost goes out the window when you got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, and that makes it even more crazy that Gus Edwards isn't being able to eat, because perennially he's like a 5 yards per carry type of guy. That's just not been happening this season. Oh, and another thing, I don't know if it'll be this week, but slowly but surely Keaton Mitchell is coming. He's coming. Connor, you know about him.
Oh, yeah, speed.
He'll be
Speed for days.
He'd be the best running back in that room now without J.K. Dobbins if they let him get there. Played a little special teams just to, it was his first NFL game, but Keaton Mitchell, he coming.
He could be the Ravens' Jaleel McLaughlin is how I see that one.
Yeah.
We've spoken more about Keaton Mitchell on this show than any platform
I heard
in
Sundays,
American media.
One day, damn it.
We generally did 15 minutes on Sunday.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Should we talk about Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor return? No, let's talk about Keaton Mitchell. Can he actually, though, in seriousness, what's his upside in this offense?
He's a smaller player. He's never going to be a workhorse running back or even necessarily a guy that is in an even split. I think McLaughlin is a great comparison of usage, right? Pass catching back, explosive playability. You brought up how they probably like to keep him on special teams, Lawrence. That makes a lot of sense for him.
This is a different type of running. The Ravens don't usually draft these backs that actually have great vision. they usually like a Gus Edwards or Justice Hill. Those type of guys are just like, we getting
Greg
straight
Roman
to the
style
middle.
backs, and now they have
Right.
Runkin. That's
so
the
now they
difference.
got a guy with some agility, some vision. So we'll see what happens. But we closing it on Gus Edwards this week.
Yep.
For sure. All right, a really interesting one here that has to do with the injuries we showed at the top of the show. DJ Moore against the Raiders. You obviously love the player, love the matchup, Lawrence. Don't necessarily love the quarterback situation he could be dealing with. And it's nothing against a guy like Tyson Bagent, but a small school quarterback that's being thrust into a situation on the fly. Do you think this maybe opens up some manufactured touches for DJ Moore, or this completely eliminates the big playability, which makes him so special?
It'll be tough. The good thing about, and the reason I'll keep it open for him this week is, DJ Moore, he'll beat you deep, or he could get it short and run a long play to the end zone. After Justin Fields went down, DJ Moore was still able to finish the game with 8 targets, hit for 5 for 51. That could have very well been his stat line regardless, whether it was with Justin Fields or not. It's just that he's been blowing up the past 2 games, that like this 5 for 51 and that's 10 fantasy points. You're like, oh man, that like it kind of sucks when you're coming off this right here, which you're looking at on the screen, 230 yards. But again, because of the buys and the injuries, a receiver that's hurt is Justin Jefferson out there. I don't see how you'll bench. Like he might not even be in your flex. DJ Moore is your wide receiver 2 in your lineups this week, even with the former Division II quarterback in there. Now we'll cut him some slack. This dude didn't think he was playing football on Sunday. Had the interception, took a sack here. Whatever, it's his first game.
Right.
Now he'll get a week to prepare, and it should be better. Not expecting anything great, but if Moore can get the targets, we rocking with it. I'm keeping it open.
Yeah, Matthew's got DJ Moore ranked wide receiver 25. Just as a general rule, when in one of your past 2 starts you've gone 8 for 230 with 3 touchdowns, you probably just have to start that guy for the next kind of 3 weeks at least. And I think here's the thing with DJ Moore. Like, yes, it's a drop-off from Justin Fields. It's not like Justin Fields is an amazing passer of the ball. Like, I think that he will be able to get his touches. But, I mean, what do you think about Tyson Bagent? Is he going to be good enough to get the ball to DJ Moore?
If Luke Getsy is good enough, which is always the problem with this Bears offense. Getsy has had a roller coaster year, and that's being really polite right now. So I think when you look at Bagent, like you said, Lawrence, he wasn't probably expecting to play. He didn't come into the year as their number 2 quarterback.
Right.
He can do enough to play pitch and catch point guard in this offense, and that's DJ Moore. Like DJ Moore, you don't need to take these deep drops and these slow developing routes. This is the type of game where if I have Tyson Bagent under center, I'm throwing DJ Moore at least 5 screens, and that could be.
And one of those could go.
And legitimate screens, shallow crossers, pitch passes, get the ball in his hands, and hope a big play
They're going to have
happens.
to hit him with the screen and go, because if we know that, I hope
The Raiders are sitting on it 100%. 100%. Our next wide receiver on the list, Romeo Doubs. He's got the Broncos defense. Barry has him as wide receiver 45 this week, Jay. Before week 5, Doubs had 12 targets in back-to-back games, and now feels like a little bit of an afterthought for somebody that seemed so consistent at one time.
Yeah, I'm keeping it open on Romeo Doubs. That Vegas game was just very strange. Nothing seemed to make sense in it. Christian Watson got the big catch, but outside of that, nothing was clicking in the Packers offense. They're healthier now coming off the bye. And I just think that, to your point, Connor, getting 12-plus targets in back-to-back weeks as 2 of your past 3 games, I just don't think that can be dismissed. And also, his first 2 weeks weren't great, but he's coming off an injury, and he was on a bit of a pitch count. So I'm not giving up yet on Romeo Doubs. There is the chance, though, that maybe Christian Watson just ruins his value completely, and Jordan Love isn't good enough to be able to provide value to 2 different wide receivers. But I wouldn't put a line through Romeo Doubs yet. And you're not terrified of the matchup, certainly against Denver, which has been one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah, that last game where he caught 1 pass for 4 yards, it'll be right in the middle of that and getting 13 targets. And you could live with that in a flex spot on your fantasy lineups versus a Denver Broncos team that is giving up the 12th most points to receivers in fantasy. He's still their starting receiver. Again, folks, this is about the matchup for this particular week and what the Broncos have been giving up. So it's not like we're saying, Romeo Doubs, rest of the season, throw him in there. Nah, this is matchup specific. He's still playing 77% of the snaps, so we're going to leave it open for Doubs this week.
How do you think the Packers are using him differently to how he was used at Nevada? Do you think that he has more scope in this offense, or is this just going to be the Christian Watson show?
I think with Nevada, it was simplified for him, where it was really almost a 3-route, tree. He could run deep, you could sit on a screen, and you might run some form of something underneath, usually shallow crosser, slants. You're getting the ball, and it's really the DJ Moore special, where get the ball in his hand short or go deep. And I think with Green Bay under LaFleur, it's a little bit more complicated than that, where you're going to run a full route tree. You're dealing with a quarterback that Jordan Love had a nice start to the season. He's not playing in timing and rhythm anymore. And that's my fear with Doubs, is that he's a timing and rhythm player, at least in this offense, not his college offense, with a quarterback that is young. He's a first-year starter. Not killing him for that, but it's just not there yet. So our last pass catcher on this list, last player on this list, Lawrence, Tyler Higbee. He's got the Steelers, and we'll have more on that game in our next segment. Here's the thing, Lawrence. Since Cooper Kupp's been back, Higbee's averaging under 4 points a game. But on the flip side of it, we talked about how low the bar is to clear to be a playable tight end right now.
Yeah, and even with that, I'm going to leave it closed for this week. Matter of fact, I would start Kyle Pitts ahead of him. That's not a question to me now at this point, now that they've done something. But I would go with Jonnu Smith over him as well. Like you said, the past 2 games, 2 receptions each, I didn't think he would go down this far due to the return. I thought Tutu Atwell might have taken a little hit, and he did, but I didn't think Higbee, who does have rapport with Matthew Stafford, I didn't think he would go that low, especially because the game before Cooper Kupp came back, Tyler Higbee had 11 targets in that last game, 5 for 64. Like, you'll live with that. But that, it went drastically down. So for this week against Pittsburgh, I got to leave it closed.
Okay, I'm actually keeping it open on Tyler Higbee. I don't feel great about it. But here's the thing, is that in the 2 games that Kupp has played and come back in, against the Eagles, the Rams only had the ball for 22 minutes. They just could not get their defense off the field against Philly. And then against Arizona, Stafford only threw the ball 24 times because they had a lead the whole time. And also they narrowly lost time of possession too. So I think Higbee is still going to be the 3rd guy in this passing offense. And I think they're going to throw enough in a more normal game that he can have value. But yeah, don't feel great about it.
Right. I do like the matchup though, Jay.
Yes.
I'm with you on that.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com. And I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched. Or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.